Folks who have dated very attractive people that weren't that smart, what was the final straw?
Story 1. I had a beautiful girlfriend once that a lot of people would think is dumb. Every time she said something ridiculous, I would just agree with her and carry it further as if we were both just joking in the same way. She would laugh and always had a great smile with big, beautiful eyes. Whenever she got mad at me for something, I would just look at her and say, I didn't say that to make you upset. Why would I do that on purpose? I'm always on your side. And she'd believe me. In fact, it's the truth, but so many people just can't get past the little peeves and annoyances. For her, it was as simple as explaining that her boyfriend was always on her side. For my part, whenever I started to get upset with her, I'd always internally compare what I was upset about not having her or what I was upset about to not having her. And she'd always win. In the end, she said she wanted to be free. No reason given. As her friend, I'd always considered love as something you give, not get. So, where I could have held her on, I just let her go. You can't own people anyway, and I was only ever her friend. It's been years, and I'm still the only person she's ever had a long-term relationship with, and she's still the only person I've ever loved that much. Well, yeah, I think you make some decent points there at the end that you can't own people. And yeah, if someone says they don't want to be with you, you kind of got to respect that and just go with it. It doesn't necessarily have to do with even doing everything right or wrong. Sometimes there's just not a compatibility, and it's good if you can respect that. And I hope that you're both able to find love elsewhere as time goes on. Story 2. Such a gorgeous man, but so dumb about health. After we had finished having intercourse one session, he asked me why I liked him to wear condoms. I explained I didn't like that he wore them, told him I preferred intercourse without a condom, but was worried about pregnancy and STIs, and he was like, I never knew that. Immediately went to go get tested after that, and had him tested as well. Had to make sure to give him a lesson about the dangers of unprotected intercourse before I broke up with him. I missed his body and his raw animal dumbness sometimes, but I think I made the right choice. He's actually the reason I want to be an intercourse health educator now. Oh, and by the way, he hadn't caught anything. It was just dumb luck that he never did. Must be really weird to have the talk with someone you're dating, presumably around your own age. To be fair, I don't know if I would call this necessarily dumb about health, or just par for the course, depending on which state he was raised in with the way some of the things are going. And I don't think this is political at all to say that intercourse education should be a thing. It should be taught. And oh my gosh, with the way things are going, we're going to have more gorgeous, dumb guys out there not knowing what condoms are for, I guess.
Story 3. There was no real final straw. It was more the fact that I couldn't possibly stand to be around her anymore. She was balls to the wall, hot. Like, step over your own grandmother hot, although she could barely hold a conversation and once confused a bunch of 7-year-olds playing hockey on the professional rink for the actual game we were watching when in line for beer at intermission. When she talked, I either couldn't really understand what she was saying because it made almost no sense, or it was just the most childish joke ever. My youngest cousin had way sharper wit, but my God, she was hot. Hands down, the worst decision I ever made. Story 4. This girl was definitely out of my league, looks-wise, but she was proud of being stupid, petty about everything, and annoying. But whatever, I was in my early 20s, and for whatever reason, he liked me, so I went with it. Things seemed to be going fine when one day she asked me why I always drink so much. I thought about it and realized that I literally drank every day I saw her and never drank on the days I knew I wouldn't. I couldn't stand being around this girl unless I was drunk. Decided intercourse wasn't worth that kind of lifestyle and broke it off the next time I saw her. Wanted to actually be sober before I did it. Story 5. He was a model, but pretty dumb. I was getting ready for law school, but very inexperienced when it came to dating. We had a lovely time for a while, our intimate chemistry was great, but he eventually ghosted me. A year later, we chatted online to catch up, and he admitted to me that he felt that he wasn't good enough for me, and that's why he stopped talking to me. With more dating experience, I now know that we wouldn't have worked as a couple anyway. I realize now that dating someone of similar intelligence is more important than dating someone with superior looks. But dang, he sure was cute and had a fantastic dong.
So this is the part where I'm just going to say that A, saying that people are dumb for not knowing, like certain textbook academic kind of things is silly. There are many different types of intelligence, and I have met people who are incredibly book smart and do not have any sort of social intelligence or common sense, stuff like that. Everyone's got their own areas that they're going to accelerate in, and judging people just on academics is silly. You can have a perfectly great relationship between someone who's academically smart and someone who's just socially smart. But at the same time, it is nice to have connecting points. You want to have intersections there. And sometimes if things are too far off, it's just not going to work. And that's fine. I'm not going to ramble on anymore. I hope you get what I'm saying.
Story 6. He was a total hottie with wealthy parents who took us on a nice vacation one time and were super sweet people. The intercourse was great. My first O was hard, which is a big deal for a college-age girl just getting past the initial awkward teenage fumbling phase. But he was stuck in the grade school mindset that being dumb was cool. I said something along the lines of making a C on my first calculus exam, and he bragged about failing an entire college pre-algebra class. I just kind of ghosted him after that. Story 7. Gorgeous blonde, but really, really dumb. We met at work, and my friend was her friend's brother, so we started talking a bit. She knew her boyfriend was cheating on her, and so she cheated on him with me. I felt kind of bad, but her boyfriend was such an abusive D-bag. Then they broke up, and we started going out. And then a few months later, she dumped me to run away to North Dakota with him. I wasn't really mad. They were both crappy people and deserved each other. She deserves North Dakota. Story 8. Being bored and having to fill up time with intercourse is only good for so long. Then it just becomes hollow, which sounds good, but unfortunately starts to grate. And just general embarrassment when I took her out with my friends and wanting to stab myself in the face when out with hers. My nice, attractive ex really liked to accidentally spoil surprises for people. It was super embarrassing whenever she did it. Story 9. Beautiful gal she was, and amazing in bed, but a lot of the things that came out of her mouth just astounded me. I managed to put up with it for a while simply because the intercourse was incredibly enjoyable, but at a certain point you take a step back and really think about the situation. The physical side may be fun, but not being able to connect with someone mentally in the long run is a grating thing. Oh, and the conversation of her believing that dinosaurs still existed, they were just hiding in the forests. That really did it for me.
All right, so here we do have a thing saying that not being able to connect with someone mentally in the long run is grating. And yeah, like I said, you need to have, an intersection of interests and, certain compatibilities, but it's totally okay to have separations there too. Everyone's different. Every relationship is different. And so I've never thought of just discounting someone because they were, so much more intelligent than me or less intelligent. How would you even measure that? I don't know. Maybe dinosaurs are hiding in the forest. Prove her wrong.
Story 10. I'm actually marrying him in 13 days. I don't think he's dumb. He's very good looking, though, but some of the things that he says come off as dumb. One, he said something as I was saying it, and when I told him I was just thinking the exact same thing, he said, "I have tilapia." After a few minutes of having him repeat what he just said, he finally said, "I can read your mind." He meant telepathy. 2, he thinks the curb on the streets are called curves. 3, he thinks raccoons are called ratcoons. 4, he says the bottom line is, there are so many things, but I love them. He makes me laugh. Story 11. She was gorgeous and a few years older than me. The next day of texting, she texted me wanting to go out dancing. I replied, "Okay, but just to let you know, I'm not that good. I have 2 left feet." She stopped replying to me. I thought to myself, no, she didn't actually think. So I replied about 3 hours later saying, "Just so you know, I don't actually have 2 left feet. It's an expression." Her immediate reply back was, "Oh, thank God." It was at that point I knew I couldn't ever. Story 12. He lived in his parents' basement at 21 and would frequently tell them they weren't allowed down there because it's his. The laundry room was down there. What broke the straw was the time he had trouble getting an erection, and instead of saying he was frustrated, he shook around like he was having a seizure and screamed, "All I see is black." Sounds like he frequents 4chan. Story 13. She thought that Canada was in the middle of the United States, right next to Colorado. I wonder if she heard something about Wyoming being Colorado's Canada and it stuck with her. Story 14. The day we got into a fight on whether or not rabbits lay eggs. "They don't lay eggs, Katie! Easter is a lie! Go read a book!" Totally read that in John Oliver's voice. Story 15. Legitimately thought that birds did not have brains and that they would fly into her if she didn't move. It made it difficult to spend time together outdoors.
Well, obviously you don't know that birds don't have brains. Sure, they have processors and the relays back to the, government spy stations where they collect all the data, but it's not like those awful little spy drones have brains. What kind of person would believe in birds?
Story 16. She thought the hot, unbearable weather was caused by wildfires in Florida. We live in California. If we have a power outage, will my car turn on? Visiting Japan. Do they have sushi restaurants there? Story 17. My friend's girlfriend at the time asked my friend, in front of about 5 of us, if bacon was a meat. Needless to say, they didn't last very long. Story 18. When she found out I was Jewish, she said, "I thought all of you got holocausted." Oh, dear Lord. Story 19. She thought KFC hot wings were bones dipped in chicken meat. It's KFC. She might be right. Story 20. She swore up and down that I was the father of her baby. That was 5 months old when we met. That's kind of crazy. Story 21. What state is Africa in? My friend who is black is from Georgia, but I don't want to look racist and say Georgia. I have no response. It was as if she was draining the IQ points right out of me. I don't think I even understand what she was trying to say. Story 22. Smoking hot and was impressed that I could do multiplication in my head. Like 6 times 7, really.
Okay, this one really doesn't... I would not be upset by that or surprised. I can do all the multiplication fine in my head. I was one of the top of my class for doing the multiplication tables. Love it. If someone else doesn't, it's okay, yeah, they don't have a mind for math. Who cares? I was really good at math, and let me tell you, I know plenty of people who are smarter than me in other ways.
Story 23. He kept pointing out I was smarter and had more degrees and would introduce his friends as his kind of people. It was frustrating because I never brought up my academic background around him and doesn't define me. Story 24. She was a model but made her decisions based on her psychic's advice. Story 25. He thought women's breasts were always filled with milk and he believed bazillion was an actual number. Story 26. That it was okay to not use a condom because it wasn't God's plan for me to have a baby right now. Got right the heck out of that. Story 27. When she, at the end of Independence Day, thought the movie was totally unrealistic because UFOs aren't that big in real life. I've never seen one that big.
Well, I don't know exactly when this thread was written, but don't you feel a little foolish now? Now that the government has sort of, kind of, but not really confirmed that UFOs and aliens are a thing, sort of, kind of, but let's not talk about it too much, maybe.
Story 28. His friends took me aside and told me that he has a history of hitting his ex-girlfriends. One of the guys actually looked scared that they were telling me. Bye, Johnny. I noped the frick out of there. Good on them for telling you. Story 29. I couldn't teach her how to play Tetris. She just could not grasp the concept of the game. It frustrated me so much I stopped seeing her. When I later saw her in one of the Playboy College Girls issues, I was filled with a remarkable amount of regret. Story 30. My old friend was dating a really hot girl when one day she pulled out chocolate milk in a strainer. With said strainer, she tried to turn chocolate milk into regular milk. The next day, he started questioning his choices. Story 31. It was when she used an apostrophe to make a plural.
Okay, I know I'm missing the rest of the context. I'm sure there's plenty more things that this person is judging this woman by. But it really does seem petty when the only sentence we get is she used an apostrophe to make a plural, which there are extremely rare cases in which you can do so. If you have a lowercase letter and you need to indicate multiples of that letter for some reason, you use an apostrophe, so gotcha, dummy!
Story 32. I was in Los Angeles. She was in San Francisco and wanted to know what time it was in LA. Maybe she was just really jet-lagged. Story 33. She asked which was closer, Florida or the moon. Story 34. When she quit her job at a Volkswagen dealership after she found out Volkswagen was founded by Nazis. Well, at least she tried to have principles. Story 35. She thought Central America wasn't a thing. She's right. North or south, pick a dang continent. Panama obligatory gold edit. You're welcome for the great comment, internet strangers. Story 36. Super uber hot / compulsive liar. The lying is what made her dumb. Like, I'd believe she was a stage designer for major tours at age 19. That's a dumb but unbelievable lie, and they kept coming. Story 37. She was convinced that the moon landings were faked. I worked with a guy who was otherwise fairly smart but believes this. I mentioned the retroflectors on the moon, and he said, we probably went to the moon eventually. The most bizarre variant of the moon landing is fake conspiracy.
I don't know. People who fall for certain conspiracy theories aren't necessarily dumb. There are smart people who get wrapped up in that stuff. They're just fed a lot of very convincing, misleading, and wrong information, which has become easier and easier to do on the internet, so I try not to hold it against people when they fall for that kind of stuff. I more judge them on how open they are to trying to learn more and being open to opposing ideas.
Story 38. That her phone kept getting heavier because of all the apps she'd installed. Story 39 was against immunization. Story 40. She told me to smell her hair one time and proudly announced it has Fruiticus in it. What? I replied, like people do. Fruiticus! It's the main ingredient. It's by Garnier. It comes in a green bottle. It was Fructis. Garnier Fructis. She's still banging though, just dumb. Story 41. She thought the word town had 3 syllables. We were at Chipotle with friends, and out of the blue she exclaimed, wow, I just realized the word town has 3 syllables. Towns. While slowly clapping like you learned to do in elementary school. I sat there like an idiot trying to make town into 3 syllables.
Tauna. 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 Yeah, seems legit.
Story 42. I married her. In United States military history, more citations for the Medal of Honor have been awarded for falling on grenades to save comrades than any other single act. I salute you, you poor bastard.
Oh, you're so funny. So original.
Story 43. Thought pasta came from plants and different kinds of pasta, penne, rigatoni, etc., were different kinds of spaghetti plants.
Can you imagine if pasta came from a plant? How ridiculous. What kind of plant? Some kind of grass like wheat? And I know they're saying like, a pasta tree with spaghetti fruit, but come on. If you're gonna put it that way, I'm gonna get you.
Story 44. Her. Is it true that you're colorblind? Me. Yes. Her. That's awesome. I look so much better in black and white. Story 45, when she asked me if World War II was fought between England and Scotland. Story 46, when she asked me if an egg was a fruit or a vegetable.
Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.